so much happening for the rest of the year. I was in a comms meeting with Omega Monday for the 50th. Oh boy, that gave me a headache just.
It's a big to do.
Mm-hmm.
How many more minutes? Is it going live? Okay, everyone, phones on silent. Okay, I'm gonna give you a countdown. Let me know when people are tuning in. I don't want it to be a link with nobody on. A pleasant good morning, Turks and Caicos. I am E.J. Saunders, Minister of Innovation, Technology, and Energy. Thank you for joining this public update on the rising cost of electricity in the Turks and Caicos Islands. I know that this is a difficult time for many households. We are in one of the hottest summers on record. Children are home from school, air conditions are running longer, and families are already managing many other costs. The last thing anyone needs is an electricity bill that keeps increasing from month to month. Please know that your government understands your concerns. We hear you, and we take this matter seriously. Many of you have spoken out on social media. In addition, many of you have contacted us, your elected representatives, directly with concerns, suggestions, and feedback. I want to thank you for doing so. Your comments and feedback have helped shape our government's response to this crisis. As the Minister of Energy, it is my duty to address this issue directly. However, I want you to take comfort in knowing that this matter is a priority to our entire government, indeed, our entire cabinet. To date, Cabinet has discussed and approved several measures to help address the increase in the cost of living, including the impact of higher oil prices following the conflict between the United States and Iran. These global events have had a direct effect on fuel costs, and fuel costs have a direct effect on electricity bills here at home. Cabinet remains committed to reviewing the situation and taking further action when necessary to help reduce the pressure on residents. This morning, I will focus specifically on what the government is doing to help contain the electricity costs, the rising electricity costs. I will begin by walking you through a simple electricity bill so that everyone can clearly see where the main issue is coming from. I will then explain the government's cost-cutting measures and outline the next steps. And after that, I will take questions from Mrs. Cheryl Foreman, who is in the studio with me. So with that, I'm going to walk you through to a bill, and so we can get an understanding of the issue. So if you can focus on the screen behind me. Now, on the screen here is a sample bill. This is a bill that everyone probably received from Fortis. Now, on the bill, you'd see a few things. You would see a bill total, You will also see your base rate, which says electric rate, and you'll see a fuel factor. Now, on some bills, you'd see it would say power adjustment cost. Now, Pelican's energy bill is made up of two parts. It's made up of the electricity rate, as I said before, and the fuel factor. And then on some bills, that's described as the power adjustment cost, particularly those bills in Grenter. Now, the base rate is a regulated rate, and that is fixed at 27 cents per kilowatt hour. It covers Pelican's operational costs, including the price of the fuel, which is sulfur diesel, at 90 cents per gallon. Now, that's their landed cost to Pelican. Now, this rate is fixed, and this rate can only change if Pelican makes an application to the government for an increase. And they've done that in the past, and most times the government would usually reject it, and it will go to some type of mediation, but that rate can't change. Now, the fuel factor, again, the power cost adjustment on the Grenter and Solke bills is a variable rate. And this rate goes up and down to capture the change in prices of fuel above the 90 cents per gallon landed again in the Turks and Caicos Islands. If the price drops below 90 cents per gallon, the net difference is deducted from customers' bills. I know some of you have never seen this, but there are times when the fuel factor is actually a credit. And if it goes higher than 90 cents per gallon, the net difference is added to your bill. So most times when you see the positive fuel factor like you see here, it's because it's higher than 90 cents per gallon. And the net difference is calculated or reflected in kilowatts per hour. And in this case, it's calculated at 14 cents per kilowatt hour. So now, if you look at this chart over here, give me a second. If you look at this chart over here, you will see three lines. Now, this line over here shows the base rate. This line right here shows the base rate for all of 2025. And you would see that it's static at 27 cents per kilowatt. This line over here shows the fuel factor for all of 2025. And you see it started out at 16 for January 2025. It goes up and down, and it ends at 16 cents per kilowatt hour in December. And it averaged at 16 cents per kilowatt hour for all of 2025. Now, these two rates combine together to give you your effective rate, because you're paying this rate and you're paying this rate. And here's the rate, that combined rate that you're paying. And so this rate started out at 43 cents in January 2025 and ended at 43 cents in December. But in between it averaged 43 cents. It was mainly consistent. Now, if we move over here to 2026, you'd see in January, February, and March, and April, the fuel factor. You'd see the base rate and you'd see the combined rate. Now, one of the things you've seen here is that all of a sudden, after the war between the United States and Iran, what happened in February, the fuel factor started going up. And it spiked. And now, at some points, it's actually even higher than the base rate. So it caused your combined rate to go up. So this is where the problem is. The problem is where the fuel factor is. And that's that price in fuel above 90 cents per gallon. So what our government is going to do, because we know that as you're starting to pay higher and higher fuel factor, it's causing hardship on you. And we understand and we don't want you to have any hardship. So what we're going to do is that we're going to cap the fuel factor at 22 cents per kilowatt hour. And we've discussed that with Pelican. And the government is going to pay and subsidize all of this. So if you see that this is the projected fuel factor, where we're going to cap it over here at 22 cents, and we will subsidize any rate above 22 cents, that you will never have to pay above 22 cents per kilowatt hour. And we're going to do that, and Cabinet has already agreed to do that for 4 months. That's your July bill, August bill, September bill, and October bill, and we will continue to monitor it. So here's what's going to happen. For all residential customers, for those of you who've had an average bill below $1,500 between December 2025 and June 2026, if your average bill was below $1,500, and that's about 90% of residential customers, we will subsidize that rate for you. So you will never pay more than 22 cents per kilowatt hour on the fuel factor. We know it's going to give you a little bit of hardship, sorry about that, but we'll make sure that it doesn't get any higher than 22 cents. So you'll pay a little bit more when it goes up, but it will never get completely out of control. Now, we're projecting, Fortis is projecting, that it's actually going to hit 31 cents per kilowatt hour for a few months. But like I said, you will never have to pay more than 22 cents. We will subsidize the difference between the 22 cents and the 31 cents. So again, all residential customers with an average bill $1,500 or less than $1,500, and if your average bill between December 2025 and June 2026, average less than $1,500, we will subsidize the fuel factor down to 22 cents per kilowatt hour. Now that's the immediate things that government is doing. More medium term, what we're doing is that we're going to take the renewable energy and resource planning bill to Parliament this year. Now the key benefits to that bill is it's going to set renewable energy targets for the utility company, which means that we will have a date and time by when they have to start to hit renewable energy. Is it by 2030, they may have to have between 30, 40, maybe 50% of their generation will have to be done by renewable energies. So that's just an example. So we'll give them dates that they have to have a large portion of their generation being done by renewable energy. It will encourage the use and deployment of renewable energy solutions like solar right across the private sector and personal homes, and for businesses that want to get into that business of generating electricity through renewable energy. It will reduce dependency on fossil fuels. It will stabilize energy prices. It will be long-term energy cost reduction. And I've said it a few times. My goal is to make sure that the price of electricity bills go down, and it's environmentally sustainable. So, and in addition to that, we're taking Crown land. I've already taken a paper to Cabinet to make Crown land available for solar farms. So those are the initiatives that we're taking in the immediate term, where we're going to subsidize the rate, and in the medium to long term, we're doing things to drive down the cost of energy to you and to move to cleaner energy. So in the future, we wouldn't get hit with geopolitical issues that are driving up the cost of electricity to you. So with that, I'd like to thank you for tuning in, and now I would like to welcome Ms. Cheryl Thorman to the desk for a few questions that she may have for me. So thank you very much.
Good morning, Minister.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much for that announcement.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You know, we often think that when we talk about electricity, that it doesn't affect cabinet ministers. But it certainly does, doesn't it? You get an electricity bill too, don't you?
I do. I certainly do.
Okay, so it affects all of us.
Yes.
But for those people who don't understand their electricity bill, tell us again, in simple terms, what does this mean, what Cabinet is doing for the average household?
Well, what Cabinet is doing is that it's saying that we understand the hardship, we appreciate the hardship, and this has been deep discussions in Cabinet. Everyone gets involved. I mean, the governor, the premier, the deputy governor, the AG, all of the ministers are weighing in. We get our bills. You know, someone said that they thought that their bill was the hotel bill, that they got the wrong bill. And so we appreciate it, we understand it, we feel it also, we're going through it with the public. And what we're trying to do is we want to make sure that the hardship isn't, the public doesn't take on the hardship. It's been a tough time, and we're an oil-driven economy, and so oil affects the entire economy. And so not just electricity costs, but this is one of the levers that we can pull to do that. So what it means for the average person is that your electricity bill will increase. It will probably increase about 15% on the entire bill, about 30% on the fuel factor, but that we will then subsidize it down so you don't have to carry the whole brunt of that.
So I'm not going to ever pay anything about 22 cents for the next few months.
You won't pay anything 22 cents on the fuel factor.
Fuel factor,
the combined rate
yes.
will be higher, but you wouldn't pay any more than 22 cents on the fuel factor.
Okay.
And it's the fuel factor that fluctuates,
right,
that pushes the bill up.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that government said it will absorb anything above the 22 cents on the fuel factor
Yes.
for a period of 4 months. What made Cabinet decide on that particular threshold?
Well, when Russia and Ukraine war started a few years ago, we subsidized the rate also, and based on the feedback from Saunders at the time, now Pelican, that the 22 cents seemed to have been the area where persons were really starting to feel the burden. I don't mean any increase in bill, you start to feel it, but at above that it became a hardship, you know, and between the normal 16, 17, 18 cents and 22 cents, it's a bit of an annoyance, but at above, when it got to 22 cents, it was starting to be a bit of hardship for persons. And so that's where we were using it as a base. And, but also by going a little bit higher, it allowed us to do it for many more months, for us to carry the burden for more months. Because if we went lower, it would mean more money that the government is paying out, which may result into shorter months. Because at the end of the day, funds are not unlimited. You know, the funds are finite, and we have to use funds for other things. And so we looked at the budget, what the budget can afford, and we said, how can we stretch this to give the longest possible relief to the public? So anything that we did less than 22 cents, which means would be less amount of months. So if we had gone to 20, we may only be able to do 3 months.
Yeah.
If we had gone to 18, we might have only been able to do 2 months. So 22 cents also allowed us to be able to stretch it to 4 months and be able to review it, and in case these fluctuations in the prices continue.
But it is something that will be revisited.
It will be revisited in 4 months. I mean, the reason why we said 4 months too is that we're looking at the price of fuel that Saunders is buying, and Saunders can only project out that far. Because what happens is that if they buy fuel today, that fuel, they don't receive that fuel for a few weeks, and then it's in their inventory. So what they're able to say to us is that based on the fuel that they've already bought to receive, they can project out 4 months and say the fuel factor will be this in October. We don't know what it's going to be like in November. And in addition, there's a lot of things that's happening around. And one day they're saying that they've come up with an agreement between the United States and Iran. The other days they don't have an agreement. So we don't know whether it's going to stop within 4 months or whether it's going to continue. So it gives us the ability and the flexibility to be able to review it if it doesn't, if the price stays high.
Yeah, and Honorable Saunders, I mean, many families for quite some time now have been feeling the rising cost of living charges. What do you hope this message sends, this action that government is taking, what message do you hope it sends to the people of the TCI?
Well, first of all, I want to say that this is the second action, because the first action was the announcement of the $500, which the portal is now open and persons are applying for it. So this is an addition to that. But I think it's the message that it sends is that government is a caring government. Our government is a caring government. You know, it's not a case of saying, oh, the Minister of Energy wants to do. This is an entire cabinet initiative. We've looked at papers where we've exhausted, we've looked at everything, a lot of different relief measures. I don't want to speak to every one of them because they don't all fall under me. But I want the public to understand that this government feels your pain. This is one of those things that we actually feel the pain also, not just sympathize with the public. Like we're in this with you. One of my good friends in my previous job used to say, we're all in the tent together. So we know it, we feel it, we get the bills, we get the points that you're making. We know that a lot of people are talking about it. You know, it causes, there are a lot of high emotions, particularly in social media, and that we get it, and that we're responding to it.
And you mentioned the months of relief earlier, but just for the benefit of our listeners and viewers again, when can we realistically see this relief on our bills?
Well, unfortunately, you've already received the July bill, but you will get the credit for July. I'm not sure how long thought it's going to take to make the adjustment on the bill. I believe it'll be in time for the next bill, so you'll see it on your next bill, but you will get credit. You will get credit for the July bill you're currently holding.
And is there anything that consumers need to do to benefit from this, or does it automatically happen?
It automatically happens. We don't want this. We don't want you having to go to another portal, everything for this. But the way it's going to work is that if you're a residential customer of Pelican right now, your bill average $1,500 or less between December, less than $1,500 between December and June, you automatically qualify.
Would it be fair to say that this is an immediate relief rather than a long-term solution?
It is immediate relief. You know, we're not going to subsidize it forever. But what we want to do is that, I mean, as minister, and I'm certain the government overall, we don't want consumers ever paying higher than 22 cents. You know, if it starts to get higher than 22 cents, it red flags go. When it happened, when Russia and Ukraine went to war, it came to the government. I was the Minister of Finance at that time. We said we didn't want consumers paying more than 22 cents. We subsidized it then, but at that point it peaked at 29 cents. Today it's peaking at 31 cents. So if we had allowed it to go, that the consumers would be facing even more hardship. And so so we're going to move rapidly towards working with Pelican to increase their renewable energy mix. I think I haven't spoken with them about it, but I had seen a figure where renewable energies make up about 5% of their generation. We want to get it to 40 and 50 and 60% and much higher. We're speaking with them to see how quickly we can get to that. So hopefully by the next time you have a geopolitical event that's outside of our hands, that we would have had the fuel factor being pushed down, because renewable energy that isn't affected by global oil prices would be powering most of our homes and businesses.
Yeah, let's talk a little about that, Honorable Saunders. Renewable energy and the upcoming renewable energy bill. Even now, we see some roofs completely covered with solar panels. But how realistic is it going to be for the average Turks and Caicos Islander who perhaps says solar panels are perhaps not economical for them? How are they going to participate in the renewable energy program?
Well, the thing about it is that the solar prices are going down. You know, it's starting to catch on. They're having economies of scale. You know, and they're making them actually very. They're designing them to look nice. This is aesthetically pleasing, for lack of a better term. So some of them now are becoming aesthetically pleasing, and they're starting to drop in price. I would give you an example. And I'm going to go outside of solar and come back. Pre-2017, I had these clay tiles on my roof, and they were very, very hard tiles and hollow and everything. And during the 2017 hurricane, they came walking off my house. The wind was blowing them off, mash up my car and everything. And then when we replaced it with a metal roof, what they call a gut roof. And so even though it didn't look like the clay tiles, it protected my home through the hurricane. So I think solar is going to be like that. It's going to be where people are going to start to, as they start to build or change their roof, they're going to say, you know what, if I can cut my bill, my whatever electricity bill, say my heating bill, my cooling bill, or whatever, if I could cut it by 20 to 30%, then it's best to do this. So that's because of the long-term payback. So they're going to start to realize it's more beneficial to them to be able to go with the solar roofs. And then, I mean, it's not beyond our government to incentivize people. I mean, a few years when we came into government, electrical vehicles duties were the same as every other vehicle. Now it's a lot cheaper. You know, I think it's 15% on electric vehicles. So we incentivize people to start to move to electric. And so it's not beyond us to incentivize people to start to adopt solar panels. But I think in 5 years, 10 years, you'll start to see a lot more homes starting to have solar panels on them, because right now solar panels sit on top of your roof. But like I said, they now have roof tiles that are solar panels that can solve both problems. Yeah. I think when that starts to become more mainstream, people say, you know what, instead of putting the gut roof on, we'll put the solar panel on, so it covers the roof and it generates energy.
Yeah. And Honourable Minister, when government considers decisions such as this, what carries the greater weight? The economic data or the stories you hear from residents?
Both. I mean, the stories you hear from residents certainly get you to look at the economic data, but the way to find the right balance, you know, whether it's 22 cents, 25 cents, 18 cents, you have to look at the economic data. I know some people would say, oh, why 22 cents? My bill is already high. You should have done it, and you should have gone lower. You should anything above like 16 cents. But we know that if we had done that, we couldn't give you the type of relief for the length of time, for 4 months. We couldn't, because what we want to do is that we want to keep it that way, no matter how long the war goes for. Now, is it possible, financially possible? We don't know. I mean, if this war goes on for 2 or 3 years, I don't know. But we're certainly maximizing that, and the data told us that. The data said to us, the sweet spot is 22 cents. Yes, it will be an annoyance. People will complain about it, but it'll be one of those things where it allows us to be able to do more and for a longer period.
Well, we want to thank you. I want to thank you on behalf of Turks and Caicos for the relief. I'm looking forward to my light bill, next one. So thank you very much. Thanks to the government of the Turks and Caicos Islands. You mentioned when you started that we were someplace special. Do you want to tell us where we are?
Well, I didn't say special, but I said we were in the studio. And I want to first of all apologize to the public for the 10 minutes late start. We're inside the studio of Radio Turks and Caicos. As people have heard me, we're going to be moving, Cheryl. We're going to be moving very shortly, within the next few weeks, not months, few weeks, to live daily news, Monday to Friday. As I've always said, I think governments have a moral obligation to ensure that the citizens are informed. So we're in our studio right now. There's still a lot of stuff to be done. You know, we still, there's paint on the wall, but we may paint some of the walls slightly different. We would maybe changing out the anchor's desk and everything. But most of the equipment are in, so what you're watching right now is all the visual equipment for Radio Turks and Caicos, and our move to visual news, to live daily news Monday to Friday. This is a dry run, so we were happy to do this with a dry run. Everything is being done wirelessly. That's the reason why you see me keep clicking the wireless clicker to make sure that it was working. So now we can know how to adjust it, that it's just not working exactly in time, or whether we should use cables and everything. So we're working out the kinks. It gave us a bit of a good dry run. I was quite happy that when I returned from cabinet, the team said to me, let's give it a try. Let's do it. So we expect that we're just about there, about 80% there, and that within the next few weeks we'll have had all of the kinks worked out. So I want to thank the team. There's just 2 engineers who helped get up to date, but I think the public will be proud of the final product.
Good. Thank you so much. You've been listening to a national update from the Honourable E.J. Saunders, Minister of Innovation, Technology and Energy. And on behalf of all of us, Honourable Saunders, thank you so much. And our thanks to the government of the Turks and Caicos Islands. This is Radio Turks and Caicos Television. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.